Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Andmore Virtual Bus YouTube channel. It's me, Andmore Central, although on this channel I am known as Andmore Virtual Bus. I know it's quite exciting, isn't it? I changed my role. Still the same human, still the same person, I think. I might have to double check that off camera. But yeah, same voice, that's what matters. It's not auto-tuned, it's me. I don't know how I would auto-tune it. So that gives you my full clarification that it is me. So you join me at Hereford, not Hereford Station, that's what we got on the blind, at Apsley Station in Bowdenham version 5. Now there'll be a few of you looking at this bus, looking at this destination blind, and you will know exactly what this video entails. You will know the crack. There will, however, be a few of you that are probably the people that have joined OMSI a little bit later on, who may be a little bit more confused as to what's going on here. So, I'll explain the bus, then I'll explain the route, and the choice of the route number. So in front of us is the Scania OmniDekka N94UD double-decker, specifically SN05HWS, which was a First Scotland East example. Now, First Scotland East were the main place to get Scania OmniDekkers within the FirstBus fleet. They all arrived in this Barbie colour, then a few of them got given the Middle and Bluebird livery, and I ended up driving 3 of these, although it was 2. No, it was 2? Yeah, it was 2. I didn't drive the third one, because the third one entered service when I was away. But I ended up driving 2 of these, and one of them was HWK, and the other one was possibly this one? It might have been this one. I should know that, but I can't remember. It has genuinely been that long. I mean, we're going to have to hang on here, guys, because I am actually going to have to check this, because this is going to annoy me otherwise. But you see, the joys of nowadays and the technology that we have means that I can quite actively check this and see what bus I did actually drive on there. But basically, this is a Scania OmniDekka. It's in the relatively recently released First Bible livery, so that's why I thought I'd quote it. No, it was HWV I drove, although I do think HWS did end up in West Yorkshire. HWV and HWK. HWK was my favourite, HWV was a pretty poor one. And in this video, we are going to be driving the not 408, the 375, from Apsley Station to Hereford Station, a route that takes approximately 30 minutes to do. Now, what's with the number 375, you may ask me? So for those of you that remember the original Bowdenham version 4, you will remember it came with chrono features. And traditionally, with chrono features and bits like that, you can show the older vehicles and the newer vehicles, and it's not something that map makers are tending to use that much nowadays. You tend to just get a relative set map, and that's about it. And during the chrono features, it showcased that Bowdenham was originally based in South Yorkshire. So it started off with South Yorkshire PTE, then it went to mainland, then it went to FirstBus, and a bit of a Reaver as well. That I think were in place of, although there was a little bit of stages, so I think it was first a Reaver and Stages. I absolutely loved it back then. Obviously, I live in South Yorkshire, so for me, it was cracking. I've always followed South Yorkshire stuff like the PTE, stuff like that. I mean, you all know my bus that I own is in the SYPTE colours. So I've always followed stuff like that. So I was really disappointed when version 5 was released. It was left pack, yay, but then it was based in London and Kent for some reason, and everything was renumbered. So in this video, we are going to pretend we're in version 4. Yes, I know there are mods that you can download to change all the AI and stuff, and yes, I haven't had a chance to do that, because I'm not willing to change the full map yet. I just want to do the odd drive like this, where we do a little bit of sort of throwback, not the whole thing. Because I do like using some of the numbers. Just the one that does bug me is the 375, not being the 375. But anyway, with that out of the way, we will get ourselves logged on to the ticket machine. I know we should have left a minute ago, but people will manage. And there we go. So yeah, we are back in the OmniDekka again. It has been very much OmniDekka. I think it was a couple of videos ago I drove the Stagecoach Navy Blue new livery. So I thought I'd drive the Barbie one as well, because I've been wanting to do this run in the FirstBus colours for some time, and I remembered I had this FirstBus repaint, and I thought, you know what, sod it, we'll give it a go. I'll have a little drive of it. And I thought, why not? Because it does really look the part on this route. It really, really does. I mean, as I say, this bus station, bits like that, and with the blind on as well, you can really imagine sort of FirstBus in this area, sort of getting a few of these near the end of their lives and running them out and about until they sort of drop to that kind of thing. And I can tell you that these vehicles, when they arrived from Scotland East, were very, very much ready to drop. Now, obviously, First Scotland East was acquired by McGill's, by McGill's Group. These buses, it's safe to say, did not last very long. The McGill's brothers had absolutely no intention of operating Scania OmniDekkers in their fleet at all. And these are like some of the first things to come off, and they were incredibly rough. The one that we had was SN05HWK that became YBO3 bus, and that was my favourite bus out the two I drove. Although I was told that the other one that we had, that might have been this one, HKS. I can't remember which one it was, but I never drove it. It might have been HWP actually. I can't remember. But basically, that one became YBO5. The other one that I drove, HWV, became YBO4, and I drove 3 and 4, and I absolutely loved 3. Despised 4, and as I said, didn't drive the other one, and that was 05, but I did get a photograph of it. Unfortunately, 05 was the last 120 service and the first one to be withdrawn, followed by 4, followed by 3. 3 was the one I used to drive quite a lot. I drove it when it was at Huddersfield, then when it was at Leeds, then when it was back at Huddersfield, and it was a lovely bus to drive. I did thoroughly enjoy driving it. Even near the end, it just became an absolute rocket ship. It was beautiful to drive, and then unfortunately, the engine decided it no longer wanted to be an engine, and it wanted to have early retirement. So the engine decided to self-combust itself, and that was very much the end of play with that. But again, these things happen. They were very old buses. They very much, even from day one, showed their age. But again, it was alright. I didn't mind them. Something totally different. And as I say, what I started my bus driving career on. So further to what I mentioned in the video when I drove the OmniDekka, I did actually say to you all that the following day to that I would be driving the OmniDekka. And unfortunately that didn't actually happen. Just to add, I was due to drive it. I was due to drive the OmniDekka, but I went to the OmniDekka on the morning, and it was not so long ago from when I'm filming this. I went to it in the morning to take it, still allocated it, and found that there was no glass by the destination box. So the destination box glass had come out. Apparently the driver the previous day, something had hit the destination glass and smashed it through. We don't know whether it was a piece of metal, we don't know whether it was pheasant. I think it was a pheasant personally. I really do think it was a pheasant. But basically I couldn't take the bus, so I ended up driving an E400. I didn't mind driving an E400, I do like driving them, so it didn't particularly bother me. But just to add to that, the only OmniDekka driving I have done recently is virtual. As much as I do absolutely love driving them in real life. As I say, me and the Andrews OmniDekka very much fell out a few days after that episode of A Day in the Life of Bus Driver that I did, when it decided that it no longer wanted a fuel pump when I took it to Stockport and rail replacement. That was absolutely soul destroying. I was really looking forward to spending a day driving that between Sheffield and Stockport. It had been an absolute rocket all the way down to Stockport, behaved itself, really, really reliable, and then coming back from Stockport, the fuel pump just packed in. That, I must say, was very, very upsetting, but these things happen, and since then, to be fair, I haven't driven it. Mate. I don't know whether it's to do with I haven't been trusted with it or what, but I just have not driven that bus whatsoever. So these things happen at the end of the day. I do miss driving it, I do miss driving OmniDekkers, but I'm going to go in one at some point. Always an opportunity somewhere along the line. Now, having driven down Sussex and Kent Way not so long ago, driving the buses for my good friends at Cherside, it is quite cool to see the signs like Open Turn and Swanley and stuff like that. The only thing that does sort of bug me is, as I say, yes, I can relate to some of the signs now having driven down there, but it was the fact that this map was based in South Yorkshire. It very much was South Yorkshire. Everybody knew it as that. There was all the SYT and mainline repaints made by Mark Hodgkinson, all the FirstBus style overground ones as well. And it was just such a shame when the map came out and it was just Londonified, because I was like, well, we've got so much London. We've got Addon London, we've got the Route 24 London. It's just so much London. It'd have been so nice to just keep this up in Yorkshire, because as I say, this was sort of like the Yorkshire map. And I will admit, it was such a shame. Now, as I say, there are add-ons and bits like that and mods, and don't get me wrong, I am thinking about installing one that changes the AI list and changes the route numbers back to what they were, because I'd really enjoy that. That would be really nice. The only issue that I personally have is I can't remember, apart from the 375 being this route, I can't remember what all the others were. I know the Barton Lido one, the Cross Town one was the 22 by First. I remember that one because I remember taking an Olympia liveried man low floor single decker, one of the base Berlin buses on it. So I remember that one, and I don't remember the others, unfortunately. I do forget that there are so many different maps nowadays out there. So many. I mean, I look through the map list for when I'm doing these videos. And oh my goodness me, so many nowadays. So many different maps. Like, as I say, you've got the likes of London. I did enjoy my drive on 24 quite a few videos ago. I did a trip on the 24 in London. Now, that was the first route in London to go fully new bus for London, fully Boris bus. That was the first one to go for the new route masters. They had a small number of them that were operated by Arriva, sort of like demo ones, like they did with the original AEC route master, where they sort of had RM1 to 5, like the base ones. I think it might have extended up to 8 at one point. But sort of like 5 of the base ones, and they got a couple of extras, and then that was that, and then they got rid of mass. Now, they obviously did a similar thing, very, very similar thing for the new route masters, but obviously not on as big of a scale. So the odd one did enter service on the 38, but the main entering service of them was very much the 24 when that fully went new route master. So every single bus on that route was a new route master. So it was really, really cool to have the 24 in the game, and I do enjoy driving it. It is one of those that you do require add-on London for it to function and everything to work, but it was still pretty impressive. A nice enough run, and as I say, it's quite nice for extra maps and bits like that, little bits and bobs, just to add to sort of like the price you pay for add-on London, because it is quite an expensive add-on. Really cool add-on, like, but it is an expensive one. It's just a shame, as I say, that this was done. I just don't agree with this being Londonified as well, because it was such an iconic Yorkshire-based map. And as I say, it was just a shame that the Southerners got hold of it and made it South London and Kent. But hey-ho, these things happen, and as I say, I will very much be lightly installing the updated AI list and timetabling changes update that was done for it. As I say, I'll have a look into it, I think. But something else I do really want to do is I do really want to get back into map editing. Now, I do not have the time for that at this exact moment in time, for the life of me. I do not have the time for it. So before anybody puts in the comments, oh yeah, you can do this, do that, do this, do that. No, I do not have the time at this exact moment in time. Now, I do really want to, in the longer term, get back into it. The sad fact is I will actually have to watch my tutorial videos that are on this channel and the Ambo Central channel on how to do it, because it's been a couple of years now since I last did any of the 2 editing. So I will have to have a look at that. But I did 3 of those videos. They were very, very much liked, and they got quite a lot of people into map editing who just needed to know the basics. And that's going to be me very soon, so I'm going to be learning from myself about 7 years ago. That's going to be pretty strange. But I do want to get back into it. It's something I want to do. Obviously, little bits and bobs, and it's alongside lots of other various stuff, which include a model railway, amongst them that I want to do. Buses, preserved bus, job, life, career, lots of stuff basically that I want to crack on with and get done. And unfortunately there are only so many days in a year, and those weeks and months tend to go past very quickly at the moment. So, but I am getting there, and as I say, it is something I want to do when the time applies, basically. So hopefully, won't be too long down the line. But that does remind me, you can support me getting back into OMSI 2 editing and stuff like that, and by clicking the like button on this video so more people find it, enjoy it, click that like button, subscribe. Because as I say, the more people we have subscribed to the channel, the more time I can devote to OMSI 2 videos, and the more likelihood I'm going to be able to get back into all that editing stuff. Because as I say, some of you devout people do remember the old Haverford map, and you do remember Humber Buses. Humber Buses was one I was absolutely gutted about, and I would probably argue that that was the point which I stopped map editing, and I put my tools down, and ever since then, I think that was about 3 years ago, ever since 3-4 years ago, ever since then I've just not been into map editing at all. Now we'll cast your minds back to very much just post-COVID. So just post-COVID, I was still sort of like doing various bits and bobs. I'd started to go out and about a little bit more, but I'd been inspired to get back into map editing. I'd had a lovely holiday over to the North Yorkshire Moors, and I really wanted to recreate parts of that on rural sections of Humber Buses map. And there was sections of route I really wanted to redo on it, bits I wanted to add on to it, and I was like, yes, we'll crack on with these, we'll get it done, this is going to be amazing. So I did all these edits and made everything and cracked on with it, and I saved a backup copy, and then continued to work. And it was the most work I did, and I thought I should be saving a backup copy now, and I was like, no, it's fine, I'll do it tomorrow, save it back up onto the drive tomorrow. That evening, the old rig that I used to have before, this big gaming style laptop where I can actually drive a map like this without the bus jumping about. Before this arrived, the old laptop decided it was going to die a death. It decided on that evening that it was going to stop working, and it was going to stop working permanently. In quite spectacular fashion, I must add. So we went to a repair shop, tried to get it fixed, and we did get it fixed, but I lost everything, all of the work that I'd done to my maps, all of my files and bits that were on it. Everything was lost. A couple of things I'd been lucky enough to back up prior, but I hadn't been able to back up everything. And unfortunately, one of the things that was lost was that update to the Humber Buses. And I remember losing that, and I was just soul destroyed. Absolutely soul destroyed. Because it had been a good week's worth of work on that, and I was genuinely really happy. The screen, I don't know if the screenshots still exist anywhere. They might not do, because I think I lost them as well. But I was really chuffed with it, and ever since then I just stopped map editing. Lost my motivation, lost my hype about it. I ended up going out and about doing the real life filming, ended up becoming a bus driver, doing all of this as a real life career, going the Amwell Central channel, and that was that. So as I say, I am really hoping to sort of get back into it at some point. I don't want the story of me map editing to be that. I really don't. I met too many people that inspired me to crack on with bits. Too many people that gave me instant tips, and don't get me wrong, the maps that I used to do were not perfect. They were not perfect, but I'd love to get back into it and just do something a little bit different, a little bit random, and just have my own little contribution. Would be really, really nice. So it's something I'm going to do. As I say, I've got 1,000,001 things on, so it won't be anytime soon. So please do not get yourselves excited about that, because it very much won't be anytime soon. But it's something I want to do. I do really, really, really want to do it in the future. So, as I say, I'll have to see how life goes, but you never know, we might get there one day. Definitely might get there. And with all the good buses that we've got coming out, we definitely do need to keep seeing maps getting pumped out. So it's definitely not an impossible thing. It definitely could happen. But as I say, I don't quite know when, unfortunately. I mean, something I wouldn't mind doing as well, probably in the shorter term, just to what would be a really good idea to get me back into editing before I started the project fresh, would be to do some editing on Parathorpe. Now, I still have Parathorpe on the computer. Every so often I still drive it, I mess around with the allocation, stuff like that. And I have expanded bits. In more recent years, extra bits were added. I mean, there's a route that's like about an hour and a half long on it, that kind of thing. So there are some routes. What I wouldn't mind doing with it is actually just adding some basic scenery so that I can show it off to you guys. So let me know if that would be of interest. Please do let me know in the comments if that would be of interest. But I really wouldn't mind showing it off, because I have made some minor adjustments to some repaints. So obviously I can't release them because that's the intellectual property of other people who've made them. But I've made my own personal edits to them, and obviously made my own map projects and added routes. And I wouldn't mind just getting some houses on it. So as I say, it would be quite nice. And I do have a little bit of time off coming up. Not stupid amounts, but a little bit. It would be quite nice to just add a few houses on there and get videos of them out, because I imagine you lot would absolutely love all being well. All being well, you never know. So, as I say, let me know what you think. And let me know if that would be of interest. And you never know, I might be able to spend a couple of hours. It wouldn't be the fanciest scenery in the world, just to make that very clear. It wouldn't be this. Let's say it would not be as nice as this, I'm afraid. It would be quite basic, but a few basic houses and bits, a few basic gardens, a few shops here and there. And then I'll be able to show you off a couple of the routes I've done that would be really nice. So as I say, just let me know. What I also really love about the specs of this bus, this particular variation on the set bar, is as you can see, there is no protection piece on it. Now I would imagine that these with First Scotland, I would say imagine, I actually drove them with the protection screens in. And so they do have protection screens, but I'm really glad that the person who's made this repaint has seen sense with the horrid parting that they have on them, that as I say could just be moved, because in real life you would change the position of your seat because it would create a blind spot. So I'm glad that we don't have that, so I can actually see. That's really nice with this repaint. And as you can see, the destination box is in a different place. It's in the place it actually was on these. That again, I do really rate. I think it's really cool. So I do recommend getting this repaint, getting it downloaded, because it is a really nice and fresh repaint as well. Seriously nice repaint, and it's actually user-friendly, is probably the best way to put it. Very user-friendly, and it is nice as well.
Hello, mate.
So the only thing I dislike about this bus is where the camera angle is. For screenshots, it's not centered. That does annoy me. Because if it was centered, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do the editing tools and have the software, but if it was centered, I'd be able to get some much better angles than what I do. How are we doing for time? Oh, we are 5 minutes late. You can tell I'm not rushing. And I've also turned the people up to full for the previous video, and totally forgot to turn the people down. As you can probably see with how busy the bus is. That was something I definitely forgot to do. But at least it means that we've got a bit of a purpose. Nice and busy bus. Can't say no to that. Keeps it exciting. But yeah, do let me know if that would be of interest. I can't remember what the allocations and stuff like that are like on there, but I sort of based it around a big FirstBus operation, and I think there's another operator or two on there. I think I can't remember who is on there. I know until very recently I did have CT Plus on it, and then CT Plus were taken off for obvious closing down reasons. So I can't remember who replaced them. I really can't. I'll have to have a little look. I'll have to have a little look and get back to you on that one. I might even have an appearance from Go Ahead West Yorkshire. Although to be fair, I pull a face at the idea of that, if I'm honest. Probably be High Peak Bus, I think. I think I could lean towards High Peak Bus. I don't think I could mentally tolerate CT on that, to be honest. Not CT, sorry, Go Ahead West Yorkshire. I'm just not a fan. I really wasn't a fan, personally. I just feel that I think the best way to put it with the Go Ahead West Yorkshire business is the Gummersall depot. I know they are having a vehicle shortage at the moment, but the Gummersall depot cracked it. They had the perfect capacity buses for the 571, perfect capacity buses for the 112, and the 213. Absolute perfect. Vehicle sizes spot on, everything spot on. Lovely, friendly drivers. Buses, apart from the 2 times I've had where they haven't shown up on me or they've run past me not in service, that has happened. When I tried to go and film for the first time, and there's an hour gap in the service, so that was not nice. Apart from that, I've had a relatively okay experience with them, although I don't go out of my way to travel on their buses. But with the business that's run by the Proctor's side, I just really wasn't impressed. Really wasn't impressed. Really rude drivers, really tight timetable. Passengers weren't happy. People were being left behind on the side of the road because the buses aren't the right capacity. It just all seemed so rushed when it didn't have to be. Like, they could have just drafted in some double-deckers from another part of the Go Ahead business because they invested in the E200 MMCs when people wanted double-deckers because they want that capacity. Especially as now as we're going into sort of Christmas market season, not having that capacity on that route does feel really criminal because it is such a busy route. Such a really busy route at Christmas time. So people will be getting left behind. And that's not right when the service is every half an hour. Really isn't right. And as I say, they had the option to utilise double-deckers on it. They could have drafted in some double-deckers. I mean, there's a fair bit coming out of London at the moment. They could have drafted in a few of them. Or drafted in some of the older vehicles that have been withdrawn. Because remember, Leeds doesn't have a clean air zone. So they could have drafted in some of the older Go South Coast vehicles that have been withdrawn. Getting some ex-Blue Star OmniDekkers, something like that. Just for the short term. See the numbers and then assess it. But they just chose to go to look smart rather than be practical, and that really annoys. Really does annoy. I mean, it's a very similar case with Square Peg in Leeds. For those of you that are Leeds people will be aware that they've started the 253. The runs between Hepburn Wyke and Leeds every hour. Now the service takes a direct route, so it goes past the depot between Hepburn Wyke and Leeds. However, misses out about 2 housing estates that the route could go through that are no longer served by buses. Instead, it chooses to go on the main roads that are currently served by buses anyway. When Arriva have been cutting back, and these areas where they cut back and they promised to add routes again, they never added. So that's why you end up with such this shocking network, where people are just being missed off. That is such an utter shame. Really is such an utter shame. And it's things that could be avoided. Things that could be avoided. Things that, if the reduction would have happened at a sensible rate, they wouldn't be in this predicament. And if they'd have sort of reduced it, because the problem that Arriva had was, unlike First, who at the time reduced the frequency and then on some corridors reintroduced it when they had enough drivers, Arriva kept the frequencies the same. but changed the routes. So they made the routes more direct, thinking that that would solve the problem, and it didn't. It just made the situation a lot worse with the driver shortage. And that's what's left this network where there's still loads of driving vehicle shortages left, right and centre, and hardly anywhere gets served within West Yorkshire that you'd think a metropolitan borough you won't have that issue, but they really do. And it is just a little bit bonkers. And as I say, it's the independents that can fill these gaps, but no, this 253 isn't there to fill these gaps. It's just there to run a direct service, doesn't go to the bus station, terminates at City Square. Why is the game? The game's frozen because it's loading in the entirety of Hereford. Yes. Well, they've done it to sort of impress the mayor, West Yorkshire mayor, in order for this franchising. So it's been done to do that rather than for the practical nature of the public. That is really annoying. It's really, really annoying that politics are currently strangling the bus network when, in my opinion, politics should have very little to do with the bus network. The bus network should be funded and supported, but should be left to industry to deal with it, not be politics, because that's where you've got this issue where operators are now having to try and impress politicians. Otherwise, they fear that they're going to lose their entire networks in years and decades, centuries in some cases, of bus company operation. That is just absolutely ridiculous. Really, really bonkers that we live in this world where that is the case in these metropolitan areas at the moment. Seriously, it just shows how wrong the industry is. But as I say, it's not happening everywhere, thankfully, at the moment. Now, as I say, different areas are wanting to introduce franchising in different ways. Liverpool's going for more of a sort of a quality contract approach. West Yorkshire is, for some reason, tossing the coin as to what Manchester did, but in a very slightly reduced way, but not arguably reduced enough. South Yorkshire is assessing it at the moment, and it has been done a couple of other places. A few other places, as I say, are doing it ever so slightly different. So it's like Bristol look to be doing it a little bit more in the quality contracts way, where they're wanting to keep their existing operators around, but do it in a way where there's a little bit more control there. And a little bit more collaboration, so all the buses have been painted the same, still operated by the companies, very similar to what Liverpool is doing, where it's not been this whole big picture franchising thing. It is being done in a more sensible way, but as I say, it is what it is at the end of the day, and as I say, West Yorkshire looks to be one of the next ones that it's properly big bulk franchising is going to happen. So everybody is looking at what's happening, seeing what the crack is, and then assessing it from there. But each to their own, I suppose. It is just a shame that what Manchester are really suffering with is going to become the norm. That you'd think if you see something that's not going well, you'd think that you wouldn't want to introduce it like that. Like, yes, we do need a level of franchising. Yes, we do need a little bit of support with the bus network, but this is not the way to do it. Manchester is not a model for the way to do it, but it does seem that a couple of the mayors are looking at him, praising it, and as I have said before while doing these videos, I have said all they need to do is spend a singular day driving, catching the buses around the network and seeing how many are cancelled, seeing how many are showing up, seeing how many are having these accidents and incidents and stuff like that. And then you'd understand why the model isn't working. And as I say, it's because you've got these operators that have put these really low bids in order to win these big bulk contracts, and are then paying the drivers very little, so the drivers are leaving, and then are having to tighten the timetables in order to not have that much lost mileage. There is still mileage is still high that's being lost, but as part of the franchising agreement in Manchester, they're not allowed to find them over a capped amount. All the big operators have already reached the capped amount, so they are allowed to lose as much mileage as they want, and there is no fine. So services are being missed. Then we're having these strikes that, I mean, I remember having the conversation when it was all happening and saying that one company's going to run in these towns and that's that. And I said, well, when the buses go on strike, there's going to be no other operators to fill the void. And I was very much right. It's because all the independents have been wiped out. So the people at B Network can't say, oh, can we hire you in to do this? Because there just isn't the capacity. Because everybody there is now on the B Network already and can't cross the picket line for another B Network operator. It's absolutely brilliant. Really, really is. And I mean, so far this year, we've had strikes from Metro Line, Stagecoach, and Go Ahead, that, for the record, are the three main big bulk franchise operators in Manchester. So this year, all three of them have gone on strike over pay agreements, which I believe are still partially resolved. It's absolutely bonkers. Really, really is. But again, Andy Burnham thinks it's the way forward. Thinks it's the new future. And don't get me wrong, I do like the B Network specification on the buses, and I do like the fact that new buses are being purchased. I just really don't think that this was the way to do it. I really don't. Now, I'll be going over there very soon and attempting to film some videos. I've left it a while because my last two experiences of Manchester have been absolutely awful. When I've been trying to sample the buses, because you'll do usually about 2 or 3 hours where you'll be alright. You won't have any cancellations, you won't have any buses missing, everything will run on time. And then you sort of get to about midday onwards, everything just falls apart. Buses are missing, then inadequately sized vehicles are used on routes after buses are missing. So, for example, a route that should have a Dekka van has a little minibus. Then you miss your connections because you're late, and it all just sort of falls down really, really quickly. So, I have left it a few months to head over there to do some filming. But I sort of did think I've got to go over there and do it. I really want to go for a ride on an E100 EV. As someone that was a fan of the Plaxton Primos, or Primos, or whatever you call them, everybody pronounces them differently. I was a fan of those little Plaxton things when they were out, for those of you that remember those things that have all but now vanished from the face of the earth. As far as I'm aware, the only one that's still on the road in PSV format is one in Northern Ireland, that was previously a Causeway, Giant's Causeway shuttle bus. Oh, there's still people get off. Giant's Causeway shuttle bus that is preserved in Northern Ireland. Now, I really wouldn't mind a ride on that at some point. Really, really wouldn't mind a ride on that at some point, because I used to love those Plaxton Primos. We used to have them with a company called Ladies Only Travel in West Yorkshire. That operated them on all of their contracts until the owner of the company one evening took all the money out the safe, locked the gates, and ran away overseas to Cyprus, I believe. So we had them till that point, and then, as I say, that was that. But I do remember going on them. I really thought they were really random and cool, so I'm going to go on the E100 EV because that's what I think is the closest thing to them, personally. Let's see where the sunlight is. The sunlight is going to be correct when I turn, is probably the best way to put it. Oh, I do have a CCTV camera. I should probably be using that instead of being that busy wittering on that I keep setting off before everybody's got off the bus. There we go. Now let's see if that works, or I've gone too far, because there is a possibility. Yeah, I think I went a little bit too far for that, but you know what I might do, because I really want a nice screenshot. We didn't do anything. We are doing it properly. We're not reversing a bus in any shape or form for the sake of a screenshot. We would never, ever, ever do anything of the sort whatsoever. So we totally didn't do that at all. So just for the record, everyone, even though the screenshot would look absolutely amazing if I'd have actually stopped for it, which I totally didn't, and totally aren't doing right now. We totally didn't reverse just so I could get a perfect sunlight shot of it. Because I do really like getting them in Hereford Village. As I say, it's quite cool to see what was left. Like, obviously, this one-way system was the same way around when it was the other sort of path. So it's nice to see that this was retained. Obviously, a few other adjustments here and there that you've seen, like the big triangle junction that go around is the best way I call it. You obviously have to go around that the other way. But keeping the one-way system here was pretty cool. But as you can see, it was originally the other way around, because you can see where the path enters. Back in the day would have just gone straight ahead, but we obviously now have to swerve across so we don't hit the red car. Just adds a nice extra challenge, and it is quite a nice thing that the whole thing wasn't flipped, because that way in just is pretty cool, to be fair. It really, really is. I tell you something though, I'm very, very surprised that we actually got everybody on the bus. That was quite impressive. I was expecting to leave some people behind, if I'm entirely honest. So that was quite nice. We did actually get everybody on the bus. That was pretty cool. We didn't actually have to leave anybody at bus stops. That's the horn. There we go. There, the doors. The horn and the doors button on my keyboard selection, because I've had the same keyboard selection for OMSI 2 for a decade now. But the horn and the doors are the same button. So if you have ever wondered why I've accidentally pressed the horn instead of the doors, that's why. Well, we were actually quite late in. Didn't realise how late we were, to be fair. But yeah, that was a nice steady drive on the 375 from Apsley Station to Hereford Station. Obviously now numbered the 308, the 408 in version 5. It was nice to reminisce of the 375, a little bit of a chat about old OMSI 2 projects and a few moans about buses in West Yorkshire and franchising, because anytime I mention driving in West Yorkshire, that's usually the thing that comes up next. But as I say, we all have our opinions on franchising and stuff like that. But it is quite nice to just do these videos, have a little bit of a chat about it. We're all entitled to our opinions. Some of you will be absolutely loving franchising for various different reasons. I have my own opinions for my own reasons. But as I say, always nice to have a little chat about them. But anyway, with all that said and done, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then do be sure to click that like button so that more people can find it and enjoy like you have. If you haven't already, do be sure to subscribe to the And More Virtual Bus YouTube channel for more content like this from the simulation section of OMSI 2. And as I say, hopefully coming up very soon, some nice live streams as well, and possibly some OMSI 2 construction videos as well, because I know you all like some work in progress videos. I haven't done any of them for quite a while. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Do make sure you click that like button, because as I say, it can support the continued growth of the channel. And if you haven't already and you've just found me and you've got to this point, you must have enjoyed the video. And if you have, as I say, clicking that subscribe button would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for watching though, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video, mate. Goodbye for now. Bye.